Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your Lost Gems review of Dark Cloud 2 by Level 5. Ambition is a funny thing. If you have too much of it, a lot of the time you ultimately end up burning yourself out and feeling disappointed. However, in those rare occasions that someone who has a lot of aspirations can deliver, you're left with something magical. Take for instance the high precedent delivered by Level 5's title Dark Cloud 2, released in 2003. The game seamlessly wraps role-playing elements into an action title while bolstering the package with a huge assortment of addictive additions, like fishing, town building, and even golf. With so much that Dark Cloud 2 brings to the table, it's clear that it must be a lost gem, right? A brief tutorial section revolving around one of the later protagonists, a princess named Monica, takes shape in the beginning of the game. The young girl's father is ruthlessly slain, but the player is whisked away from that event before you can explore it further. It seems like a cliché for Level 5 these days, but the main chunk of Dark Cloud 2 begins with the circus. You play as Max, basically a glorified handyman. His occupation definitely holds some sway on the events that unfold later in the game as well. Max decides to attend the circus, only to find that the mayor of the town of Palm Brinks is basically being blackmailed by the clown leader of the circus troupe. What follows is a story of escape and discovery, where Max grows as a person and explores all that there is outside of his confined town. Monica, on the other hand, leads a tale of revenge, attempting to punish the man who murdered her father. Dark Cloud 2 plays fairly similarly to its predecessor. Some of the big differences are the fact that you only play as two characters, though each of them have some tricks up their sleeves to make playing the game feel fresh throughout. Max and Monica both have immediate access to two types of attacks. For Max, he wields both a tool and a gun, which let him utilize melee attacks and ranged attacks respectively. Monica has a sword and a bracelet, which lets her use her own melee attacks and a variation of magic. As said before though, they have tricks up their sleeves. Max can use an oversized robot that he pieces together with items he makes through invention to beat overpowered monsters. Monica can actually morph into a variety of monsters and level them up through play. All of Dark Cloud's variation definitely helps to make the game more strategic, so you wouldn't just mindlessly progress through the game's 8 dungeons. When Dark Cloud 2 was released, it was considered one of the best looking games of all time. Nowadays, the cel-shaded graphics look a little dated, but you can still appreciate the game for what it's worth. Some of the notable lacking of the game is in the lip syncing. Back then we hardly paid attention to the way a character's mouth moved, but these days we know better. The fluid animation of battles, on the other hand, is handled superbly. Throughout all the dungeons in the game, the enemies maintain a familiar feel yet deliver in their own unique ways. You can still appreciate certain effects of the game just as well as you did in 2003 as well. The sound has its hit and misses. The vocal work was top-notch and rivals even that of today. A good deal of characters had full dialogue that you could hear as well, all fitting upon one DVD. The sounds of battle and the environment can be a little redundant. Some dungeons go on for a long while, and you could very easily grow tired of the music that they play. Dark Cloud 2 is a game that you can dump days worth of playtime into. There are a good amount of collectibles, and plenty of mini-games and other features to get caught up in. Fishing is one of Dark Cloud 2's time-wasting pastimes. In the dungeons, you'll usually find a lake or other body of water that you can cast your line into, and occasionally get a race or show-worthy fish. Golf is another hit feature of the game. After beating all the enemies in a certain level, a rift in the space-time continuum appears, and it's your job to close it by hitting an orb into it. It's actually deceptively more fun than it sounds. Additionally, there is the Georama, a town-building portion of the game that rewards you with items by placing people in the right part of the world in the right buildings under the right circumstances. Even something as mundane sounding as this can have you up well past your bedtime as you search for just the right output. All of this barely scratches the surface thanks to the picture taking and weapon upgrading that you do throughout the game as well.
This is where things get tricky, see?
Level 5 took the age-old adage of if it ain't broke, don't fix it to a new level by throwing it in the garbage. Instead, they took their established roots and expanded on them tenfold. While Dark Cloud 2 feels entirely familiar to the first game in the series, it took the design choices to heart and created a game that eclipsed its predecessor in leaps and bounds. If Level 5 ever delivers a third installment, it'll be amazing to think of what more they've decided to do. That's Entertainment awards Dark Cloud 2 a score of 9.5 out of 10.